All right, what's up, guys? We are doing a little bit of the translation worksheet that we covered today in class. Okay, so this is the translation worksheet, and we're doing how to translate a point with a compass and a straight edge. So, real quick, just a little review of what we talked about. When I'm doing a translation, so I want to move point A, and what I really want to do is take the vector from A to B, right? And essentially just like slide the vector up to create a parallel line here, okay? It's parallel to AB. And all I want to do is take the distance from A to B and move this point down that line the same distance. What we're going to do is we're going to use two circles to do this, okay? So the first circle I'm going to draw is going to be around point P. And remember, this circle is going to be, show the image of this point is going to be somewhere on that circle. So we're going to use the radius from A to B. Now, A to B is our vector, which basically means we're traveling up line AB here, okay, from A along this line until we get to B, and we hit that end of the arrow there. So I'm going to measure the distance between A and B with my compass, okay, so it's that long. I'm going to put my compass point on point P, and I'm going to draw a circle. And really, all I need, essentially, is actually just the part of the circle here, right, where the arrow should be pointing, which is that way. But in class, we just talked about draw a circle around P. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use my compass to essentially, like, translate point P by, if I draw another circle, right, and my circle is going to go around point B this time. So that's where my sharp point is going to be. But the radius is actually going to be from A to P. So I'm going to measure the distance from A to P. And now essentially all that I'm going to do is take my sharp point in my pencil and translate them both. So without turning my compass, and you can kind of see it better, put it like this. If I just shift my compass down until I get to point B, my pencil is essentially been translated the same distance. Okay? So that means when I make the circle around point B here, okay, this part of the circle, this intersection here is where the image of P goes, okay? Now if we continue the circle all the way around, we're going to see that the circle actually intersects twice, okay? What's happening is one of them is a translation in this direction, the other one's going in the other direction, okay? What we want to do is essentially what intersection is actually modeling the distance from A to P starting at B, okay, in this distance and direction. And it would be from here. So this point Q, okay, and if I connect P and Q with a line, all right, you can see that should be parallel to that line right there. And if it's a little bit off, it could be because, remember, when I was drawing this circle, right, my compass shifted a little bit. So what we're really looking for is the intersection here, okay? So as long as you have the two circles drawn, or at least the arc drawn where they intersect, that's what I'm looking for. And they should be relatively close to being parallel. So if they're, like, this is pretty close, but you can tell, like, if I kept going, they eventually intersect somewhere way over here. But it's not too bad. If it's way off, if your line is like that, you got to go back and change it, okay? Go back and do it again. All right, let's go to the next page here. So all we talked about here was our composition function, right? Composition meaning, if you look at how this is written, capital T stands for translation, okay? Along my vector, so there's my vector, it's written as a subscript, which means it's down at the bottom. Remember, superscript is like an exponent, x squared, that's the top. So this is down at the bottom here. So it's a translation of, well, along vector AB, and then my pre-image, right, is going to go down here. So this is point P, and my image was point Q. So it's a capital T, it's a vector, it's the pre-image, in parentheses, right? It's the image is what it's equal to, and we're good to go. So how would I write this as function notation? What's capital T for translation? Okay, what vector am I using? It's any one of these corresponding points, C to C prime, B to B prime, D to D prime. So any one of those. We'll use C to C prime because the line's already drawn. And notice that the arrow is pointing at C prime, so that's where my arrowhead is going to go. Okay, if it was going the other direction, then we would switch the letters around. The parentheses is the pre-image, which is figure A, B, C, D, and it's equal to its image, which is A prime, A prime, C prime, D prime. All right? And then at the bottom here, we just drew our vectors. So if the solid figure is my image and the dotted line is my pre-image, I can draw a vector from here to here. Or I can draw one from there to there. Any of the corresponding points. Right? I could draw one from this low point in the valley there to that guy, or from there to there. And actually, you got to be careful, because I actually did this wrong. This should be where it starts, and that should be where it's finished. So these should actually be drawn facing to the left, okay? And this last one, it's the same thing. Going from here down to here, or from this point, traveling down to that point. There's my vector there. All right? So page 3 here was another couple other translations. So let's do these two examples, and then I'll leave the homework for you guys. So the first one, remember, and we're going to do a couple things here. Okay, we're going to draw 2 circles. So the first circle, all right, is around our pre-image. Okay, so it's a circle, right? The center is the pre-image, and the radius is the vector. That's our first circle. And for each pre-image, we have to draw a circle. So since I have 2 pre-image points, I'm going to draw 2 circles. So I'm going to place my compass point on the end point of my arrow and the start of the arrow. There's segment AB. Okay. So I go over to P1, and I'm essentially drawing a circle around P1. All right. Pardon me while I finish up my circle here. And then I'm going to go over to P2. Get out of here, red pen. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing. So all I'm doing now is keeping my compass in there, turning my paper, and there's the 2 circles. So those 2 circles, all right, are both congruent. They both have the same radius of AB. All right, that's the first one. Second part. Okay, I'm going to then draw a circle. All right, the center is the end of the vector, which means it's at the end of the arrowhead. And the radius is between the beginning of vector to the pre-image. So essentially I'm drawing 2 more circles, right? I'm drawing with a center of B, radius A to P1, and a center of B, radius A to P2, okay? And remember, we can model that movement of the translation by using our compass here. So I'm going to put my compass on A, my pencil on P1, okay? Right there. And I'm going to slide my compass over to B, and right where that is, that's where my image goes. So I'm just going to draw a small arc here. I don't have to draw the whole circle, just enough to show where the intersection is. Okay? And now I have to remeasure for this one. So I have to go back to A. Now I have to change my compass length, so it's at P2. All right. There's A to P2. So I slide my compass over to the end of the point, mark down my intersection, and there's where my P2 prime is going to go. So there's P1 prime, there's P2 prime, and the problem says create 2 lines that are both parallel to AB. So it should be this guy right here. And then this guy right here. Okay. And what happens is as I transform those 2 points, there's my new segment. All right, and that's my transformation. What really we just made is a parallelogram here, all right? So if we do the third one, okay, we're going to do this real quick. All right, we're going to draw our 3 circles, 3 points. Remember, first circle, center of pre-image, radius is the vector. So let's put it up. There it is. Okay. Now look at it. And all of this is going to go down here. You are correct there, gentlemen. And then all I'm going to do is measure the distance between A and each point. So here's A to P2. Slide it down. There's my intersection. And there's my point. Okay? From A to P1. Slide it down to B. There's my intersection. There's my image. All right? From A to P3. I know this one's kind of backwards from what we did before, right? From A to P3. Slide it down. Mark it off. And there's my intersection. So where these points hit, that's our images. P3 prime, P2 prime, P1 prime, and then all we have to do now is number the points. All right? If you want to draw the full circle, go for it. Remember, we just need the segment, part of the circle where they're going to intersect. All right? All right, guys, enjoy. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. I don't see you.